Okay, at this time, I'll call the Budget and Purchasing Committee meeting to order and ask Ashley if she would to please call row.
Kirby, Lewis, Mitchell, Moon, Samples. We have a quorum.
Okay, I'll ask you to make the emergency announcement, please.
Before we get started, let me read the emergency evacuation procedures. In the event of an emergency evacuation, an alarm will sound. Everyone should exit the building by way of the nearest stairwell in a safe and effective manner. If the nearest stairwell is blocked by smoke, use the other stairwell. Do not use the elevator. Once you have reached the main floor, follow the exit signs to exit the building and quickly proceed away from the building. Please be mindful of others evacuating and of emergency vehicles.
This time, I'll ask if there's any public input on items on the agenda. Okay, Linda. Anyone else? Come on up.
Okay, I'm Linda King with Citizens for Blount County's Future. In this year's budget, there was a 3% raise for county employees. Now our local officials are planning a $1,000 bonus, costing us over $500,000. Two important factors for consideration. First, across-the-board bonuses are like giving all kids a first-place trophy, those that worked hard and those that did just enough to get by. That amounts to socialism, while we're supposed to be a republic. Secondly, in private industry, bonuses are paid from profit. Our government doesn't make a profit. They just spend taxpayer money. Excuse me. If money through the year has been saved, as well it should be, use that turnback to pay off some of our $250 million debt. Add it to our unfunded liability accounts, put it in our emergency fund, or give it back to the taxpayers in the form of lower taxes. Is there the chance you'll ask for a tax increase in June? Use this money to fill the void and reduce that possibility. That would benefit the county workers and the private sector equally. I must say that Roy Crawford's mall employees did an excellent job this year. However, unspent money isn't there to freely dole out to employees across the board who are doing the job they're hired to do. Think of the folks on Social Security who are lucky to get $20 a month. Think of the employees of Ruby Tuesday who were laid off, or those now unemployed due to the fire at Black Bear or the foreclosed lodge in Townsend, or laid off from Nader's or Foothills Hardware. It's been reported that the unemployment rate has gone up in Blount County. We have a 14% poverty rate. Yet these are the same people who you expect to pay taxes so that raises and bonuses can be given to government employees. 11 county officials have decided their employees deserve more taxpayer money. Must be election year. Did anyone consider surveying the private sector to see how they felt about it? You'll be asking for a higher sales tax and at the same time giving bonuses. Something's very wrong. It's a slap in the face to the citizens. Commissioner Samples stated in the paper that the employees obviously did a good job last year. So it should be. It shouldn't call for a grand reward as titled in the Daily Times. It just may be that the Budget Committee didn't do their job, because less spending should have come from cutting the department's budgets originally. However, it appears that the minute the commissioners are elected to serve in this courthouse, they forget about the private sector and immediately go to work for the bureaucrats in our local government. This surplus money needs to be held for the rainy days ahead. But apparently the mentality is, when you need more, we'll just increase taxes. Let's remember where this tax money came from. You didn't hit the lottery.
Okay, anyone else? Okay, come on up.
Douglas Benton from Alcoa. Are you all really listening to the taxpayers?
Anyone else? If not, we'll move on. Item D, purchasing resolution declaring surplus. Teresa, do you want to talk on that? Okay, I have a motion. Do I have a second? Any other discussion? I'll ask for a roll call vote, please.
Kirby? Lewis? Mitchell?
Yes.
Moon? Samples? The motion's passed.
Okay, item 2, the resolution to purchase land. Do I hear a motion?
Second.
It's open for discussion. Any discussion? Motion is to pass it on. I'll ask for a roll call vote.
Kirby? Lewis? Mitchell?
Yes.
Moon? Samples? The motion's passed.
Okay, item 3 is the perishables, and item 4 is the awarded bids. Does Teresa need to address that, Randy, or is that just for information only? Okay. Okay, y'all have had a copy of the minutes in your packet. These minutes need approval. Do I have a motion? Do I have a second? Any discussion? We'll do a voice vote. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Declare the motion passed. Finance increase, decreases, and transfers. F1A, Health Department Fund 101. It's a $97,906 state contract amendment.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we sit it on the agenda committee with a possible affirmative recommendation.
Can I have a motion? Do I have a second? Have a motion?
Mr. Chairman, if this goes to full commission and is approved, what assurances do we have that that'll be used for the roof of the health department? It'll be going to the capital account, but is there some way that we can restrict that?
Mickey, is that money, is it earmarked for that roof? Okay, Randy, do you have any response on that?
We've clearly spelled out that's the purpose, so the budget amendment will be specific to the accounts that are enumerated here on the budget increase. In the event that through the bidding process and the actual implementation of the roof improvements, that spans across the fiscal years, any amount of money that's left unspent would be restricted for that purpose if we didn't get it finished before year end.
I believe Mr. Roberts has made some assurances to the state that it would be used
Yes.
for roof.
Yes.
Any more discussion? I'll ask for a roll call vote, please.
Kirby? Lewis? Mitchell?
Yes.
Moon?
Yes,
Samples?
Yes.
The motion's passed.
I'm sorry, I one item off.
Item F1B, this is also a Health Department Fund state contract on roof repair, $53,783.50. Do I hear a motion?
I'll move.
Second? Any discussion?
The first one is not for the roof, first one's for us, is a pass-through for his payroll.
Yeah, this is the roof, okay. The other grant is just a pass-through from the state? Okay,
State employees, sorry.
all right. All right, I have a motion, a second, any discussion? I'll ask for a roll call vote, please.
Kirby? Lewis? Mitchell?
Yes.
Moon?
Yes,
Samples?
Yes.
The motion's passed.
Item F1C, Animal Shelter Fund, $24,294 for the truck purchase. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Do I have a second? Okay, I have a motion, a second. Discussion?
Just to replace an existing truck?
This is.
Go ahead.
This is to replace one that was demolished through no fault of the county's, was hit from the rear. and completely demolished it. So this is the replacement for that. Charlie Rafford, the director, is here. Charlie, you want to come up if there's any questions? I did explain that correctly, didn't I?
Yes, sir. This is a replace that we had a Ford Explorer that was hit in the rear and totaled. It was not the fault of our employee, and so we're trying to replace that vehicle. And we do not have a four-wheel drive vehicle. Our animal control officers do go into parts of the county that would be more easily accessed if they had that. We also transport inmates every day from the county jail to come out to work. And when we get 3 inmates or more at one time, we have to make 2 trips because both of our other trucks are single cab trucks. So we have to go pick up 2, go back and pick up 1. So we're in need of this vehicle.
Do we have insurance proceeds that are coming to pay for this, or how do we get the damage?
We are proposing on this specific item that we reallocate some expenses within their existing operating budget and supplement that with an appropriation from fund balance to pay for the difference. There is another item later on in here. If we were set up like I would like to see us set up, to where we have an equipment or a capital replacement fund, that on these types of instances we would have the ability to go in and appropriate money for specific replacement items like this. But our deductible is high enough, we don't have insurance that covers at that threshold.
Okay. So was it a no-fault accident?
It was not our fault. Our driver was hit from the rear by a driver who had no insurance and no driver's license. And they were subsequently arrested at the scene.
Okay, that's the question I had.
Any other discussion, any other questions? I'll ask for a roll call vote, please.
Kirby?
Yes.
Lewis?
Yes.
Mitchell?
Yes.
Moon?
Yes.
Samples?
Yes.
Item F1D, General County Fund 101, $543,892, non-reoccurring compensation supplement. Ask for a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I move we send it forward to the Agenda Committee with no recommendation.
Do I have a second? Yes. Discussion?
May I make a comment, please? Just some information for everyone's benefit. We have gotten correspondence, and then the public statement has been made here this evening that this budget included a 3% raise for our employees. That is not correct. There was no increase in the general county budget for any employees in what was submitted to county commission and approved by county commission. So I just want to make sure everybody's working from a factual basis. Secondly, the year that we had last year, needless to say, was a pleasant surprise to me, and I prefer those types of surprises. The issue that we're trying to do with respect to this resolution is, yes, we are attempting to recognize the fact that there was a lot of good stewardship that took place, regardless of how we got there, that took place by the elected officials and our employees in the county. We can take issue with a number of things, but the results speak for themselves. Secondly, we need to tighten our budget process up. We gave that charge to all the department heads last Friday when we had our kickoff meeting and discussion. We should be better predictors of year-end results than what we were last year. And that embarrasses me that we missed our estimate as badly as we did. Now, a lot of that, there are a lot of reasons for that in the conversations I've had with other department heads that attribute to that, and a lot of that's based on past history. The reality is we, I think, can do much better than 5% or 6% variance on our bottom line. Now, good news was we ended the year in the black, and that's what's important. You can't always count on how we got there this year, but the fact is, good stewardship was exhibited as resulted in our audit that showed that we underspent our appropriations by $2.5 million. The thing we need to start talking about is making certain that people understand, and that's the charge that I've given our department heads. They need to be prepared to come and tell you and the public what we're trying to accomplish, not what we're going to spend in a line item. The public doesn't understand that. I don't understand that sometimes. We need to talk in terms of programmatically what we're trying to accomplish for Blount County. So that's what we're trying to do to address how we got to where we ended last year. And thirdly, we are implementing some procedures in our department now to where we are doing soft closes every month to try to get a better handle on where we are in a particular month, so that gives us better information to predict where we're going to be at year end. So we're in the second month of that right now. The weather and the holidays kind of got us behind schedule, but we're on schedule for last month. So I just want to make sure you understand that we are trying to do a better job of predicting year end.
Mr. Chairman, I have a question I'd like to ask Mr. Vineyard. Year before last, I believe, was the last raises that the commission appropriated. Is that correct?
That is correct, and that was a one-time value as well.
And was there not an office holder, approximately a dozen people in an office, who gave over $30,000 of raises to 3 people when $1,250 was appropriated by the commission to the office holders? Just like when we appropriate money to schools, it leaves the commission, leaves our control. Was that not I didn't find out about it until September of that year, but 3 employees received over $30,000. And the rest of the employees, vice one, received no pay increase. What assurances do we have? We have an Exhibit A with the cost centers listed, $1,000 for full-time, $500 for part-time. What assurances do the commission have that that will actually wind up to those who need it most?
I can't speak to the past. I can speak to your last comment, which is the assurance that you have as a commissioner, if this were to be approved, we literally will drop in the values. We'll transfer this information to the payroll system. This is the approval process administratively that's already taken place. So if commission approves this, we literally will drop those values into the payroll system, and that's the people that will be paid those values and only those values.
I would like to make a motion to amend the exhibit to expand to employee numbers per job centers. Like county commission office, we have 1 employee, but have the cost center number and then the employee number, which we only have 1. And I put that in the form of a motion to amend.
Second.
We can have that ready for tomorrow.
Does that, though, what he's, the amendment, will that ensure, by it being there for each employee, does that ensure that each employee gets that? I mean,
it doesn't hurt anything. We know what the count is that makes up that budget amendment. We're literally going to drop it in the payroll system, so we can provide you with the count for tomorrow night's meeting.
So we have a motion and a second.
are you okay with that? The amendment? Okay. Have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? I'll ask for roll call vote.
Let me say one thing before you go. The information that you have here doesn't go back to anybody else. Once commission acts on it, we're dropping it in the payroll system, and the people will be paid on the last pay period of this month, if you approve it. It doesn't have to go back for anybody else's approval.
Mr. Chairman, I'm surprised that there isn't one elected official other than the mayor here this evening for this body.
Okay, any other discussion?
Randy, I think the question was asked when can you tell me over the last 5 years, how many percentage employee raises we've provided? Is it just one?
The only raise I'm aware of is the one that was referenced earlier, where it was a one-time bonus. It doesn't mean that some other office holder didn't do something else that I'm not aware of. But there's been one raise in this 4 to 5 year window, if I remember correctly.
Okay,
That was it that Commissioner Moon was referring to.
That was my recollection. I just wanted to make that for the record. Also, this is for general county employees. This does not include the schools, correct?
That is correct, nor does it include the highway department.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other discussion? I'll ask for roll call vote.
Is this on the amendment?
With the amendment, yes.
Kirby? Yes. Lewis?
Yes.
Mitchell?
Yes.
Moon?
Yes?
Samples?
Yes.
The motion's passed.
Okay. Now come back and pass the resolution. Do I have a motion on the resolution? Okay. Second too? Do I have a second? Okay. Let's go ahead and do a roll call vote on the resolution.
Kirby? Yes. Lewis?
Yes.
Mitchell?
Yes.
Moon?
Yes?
Samples?
Yes.
The motion's passed.
Okay. Item G, discussion and possible action. G1, grant application, records management of sustaining cultural heritage. Jackie, do I have a motion on this?
Move, we send it on to the agenda committee with a positive recommendation.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, any discussion, any questions?
The only, it's an in-kind, her time will be the match, is that correct?
How many years have we asked for this?
This is the third year I've applied. I don't know if I'll be able to get it, but I'm trying.
Okay.
I received my comments back from the evaluators in mid-November. It was a little bit late due to the government shutdown, so that's why I'm a little bit, I was running a little behind in getting it to you to begin with.
Any other questions? I'll ask for a roll call vote.
Kirby? Yes. Lewis?
Yes.
Mitchell?
Yes.
Moon?
Yes?
Samples?
Yes.
The motion's passed.
Item 2, resolution to commit fund balance for capital projects and self-insurance.
I have, you've got a handout of what I consider some positive changes based on my conversation with the State Comptroller's Office. I don't have the same copy you got in front of you. What you've got on your screen is different from what was handed out to you. The changes reflect permissiveness on item 1 on capital fund for future capital expenditures may be created. I'm not going to presume we're going to set that up. I'm just telling you that we think we need to set aside $545,000 for capital needs. If you approve this, we would come back with you at a later date and set that fund up and maybe have some specifics for needs that we have. The second item is self-insurance. I tweaked the language there. Again, the purpose is We want to identify a portion of fund balance and commit it to addressing any self-insurance shortfalls that we have related to the general county. We can't deal with schools or any other fund, only general county. So that's the context of the changes made to what you're looking at. And I'm sorry, I should have blacklined those for you, but they're.
Do I have a motion?
Motion.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, any other discussion?
Randy, in part, that surplus you were talking about a minute ago, that helps us be able to do these two things.
Absolutely, absolutely. We cannot have a self-insurance program, no government can, if you don't adequately fund it. And if we don't adequately fund it, we'll have an audit finding as a result of that. And then when we get that, that's not ever good. And if they decide that they're not going to allow us to have a self-insurance program, then we're back out on the marketplace and we're paying for premiums that are going to be higher than a self-insurance program. So it's kind of like pay me now or pay me later.
Well, we've also for some time talked about a capital fund.
That's correct.
To be able to plan for and then execute those capital fund needs that we've had to in the past look for money to fund.
And this just identifies some value that we think we can fund legitimately, and then it's at a later date, your discretion as to whether you approve a specific expense related to that or not.
And prudent from a planning aspect to be able to get that money put back aside. Thank you.
Randy, could I ask a question?
Yes, sir.
When I was on risk management, and Mr. Stallings probably answered this question, when we were out in the insurance business, contracting from other, till we went into the government, self-funding workman comp, we saved a lot of money by doing that. Have you got any idea what that was? I know that's been 5, 6, 8 years ago. I know it's a tremendous amount of money that we were saving by doing our self-insurance.
When we, on the general liability side, we had excess policy. And off memory, it was about $368,000 a year. We, when we did away with that policy, we restructured the risk management department and focused more on claims management. I don't know as far as what happened with the accounting, or what happened with not funding that. So you're probably looking at about a, $250,000, $268,000 savings a year. I don't know exactly where that went, but I can tell you that since that, in 2007, 2008, when we were doing that, our workers' comp, our loss claims were about $956,000 a year. The 2012-2013 year, we ended with $169,000 loss. General liability, we had about $1 million loss in 07-08, which is the year we did that again. Last year, we ended up with $132,000 loss. So we've been able to cut quite a bit of savings on our claims for our cost claims. The problem that looks like is we, even back prior to 2007, we're underfunding the two accounts. That's what we look like we're running into. Even in 06, 07, it was $1 million a year loss for general liability. On these claims, the way they run, we don't pay them out that year, obviously. We may get a large case and we're going to pay on it throughout the years. So really right now, we are paying out on claims that happened even prior to 2007. So cash out, according to when you take in the reserves and everything, we're running a deficit in the two accounts. But, and I believe that's an underfunding problem.
All right, thank you.
Any other discussion?
One last comment. This was not an issue in this audit that we just received because we reported all of our internal service funds or self-insurance funds on a combined basis, meaning that the financials reflect the health insurance fund, the workers' comp fund, and the general liability fund. And if we had done that on an individual fund basis, the comments that Don made to you publicly about us underfunding those would have been an issue. So that's why we're trying to get ourselves in a position now to fix that in this upcoming budget. And this would help go a long way in doing that.
Any other discussion? Ask for a roll call vote.
Kirby?
Yes.
Lewis?
Yes.
Mitchell?
Yes.
Moon?
Yes.
Samples?
Yes.
The motion's passed.
Item 3, the report on debt obligation. Randy?
I had emailed this information out to the full commission, but it requires me at least giving some commentary to it under state law. This is the report that is required by the state of Tennessee every time any local government wants to do anything debt related. So this report reflects the refinancing that you authorized in September. I would have brought it to you at last month's meeting, but the weather caused that problem. It has been submitted to the state. They have acknowledged that they have received it. And I think there are a couple of things that just merit pointing out. It is a full disclosure that while this was a competitive process in that we sought proposals, on page 1 there, it tells you that this was a negotiated sale, meaning that we took the best offers in the RFP and negotiated additional terms favorable to Blount County. The second thing that I think is helpful, we added a note disclosure on, let me see where the page is, on item 11 or box 11. You have disclosed to you the variable rate index, the method of how this financing took place. This is the hospital piece, for example, that you're looking at right now, but it is a variable rate index based on 67% of LIBOR, and then we have a bank fee of 43 basis points added to that for, in the upper left-hand corner of that box 11, at the time of the sale, it was a 0.54189% interest rate, variable interest rate. It also discloses publicly the total debt and the debt by year that it is maturing. And then we added a box that discloses that the total debt outstanding includes the hospital's piece of $89.125 million. Their bonds are identified as Series 2013A, and the county's bonds are identified as 2013B bonds. Previously, the E1A and the E5A bonds that we refinanced, one of those issues had county debt and hospital debt in it, and I consolidated the hospital's debt in one piece and the county's piece in one issue so that they're not split. So you see the total debt of $297,525,630. That includes $89 million of hospital debt. So you can see that the county's debt is less than $250 million.
Well, in fact, it's around 208, isn't it?
That's correct.
208?
That's correct. And that is as of the time of this issue, which is back in September.
Mr. Vineyard, the liquidity piece that was required under the old bond issue, what was the interest rate on that? Do you remember? 60, the high 60s, 0.6?
The total was about 1.01% total.
Oh, okay.
All fees included. The liquidity fee, the administrative costs, and we've eliminated that. We've cut that almost in half.
And the rate now is
.54 at the time of the deal, and of course, it's variable, so it's going to fluctuate. We have novated all the swaps. They are no longer in the name of, it's no longer a swap between Blount Public Building Authority and Deutsche Bank. We have now novated Blount PBA to Blount County. So we have the direct relationship right now with Deutsche Bank on the counterparty. On the next page in box 15, we are disclosing all of the fees associated with the transaction. I believe at the time we came to you in September, we told you the estimated fees would be about $220,000 per series, and the fees came in at $162,500 per series. So we actually shaved some cost off of that estimate. And then I think that and the narrative that we've included in here is sufficient disclosure for this body, and then I'm prepared to say the same things tomorrow night as well. But the whole point is the state expects us to disclose this in a public forum, not just in writing, so, and then avail ourselves of any questions if you have any questions. So I'll stop with my remarks and address any questions you may have.
One question, Randy. Do we know of the 208 on the county side of that debt, what that principal balance will look like in June, end of June, end of the budget year? I'm assuming it'd be under 200 million.
I think it's right at 200 million at this time, Nick, when we're looking at June 30 of 14. But I'll get that for you.
Very good, thank you.
What portion of that's still school debt?
Over 90% of the county's debt is debt related to the schools. And that doesn't mean it's good or it's bad. Right. And when we're comparing things, we tend to focus on debt. But the corollary to that is you built assets with that debt. So to the degree the debt has a negative connotation, we need to talk about the asset base having a positive connotation, particularly when you compare with other counties. So while they may not have as much debt as us, is their asset base the quality of Blount County's asset base? We just need to make sure we compare both sides of the equation.
Yeah, I don't think, debt is not the issue as much as is the amortization period correct, so that the asset is increasing as the debt goes down.
Our debt, it would be nice if it was a little shorter. I think you'll see from here the average maturity is around, it's under 18 years. But that's not all bad because you're building long-term assets with schools that generally have a life that are probably 40 years or so.
And that debt in June of this past year, or I guess it was a little earlier than that, at the $225 million stage, that's a pretty good reduction from the time that we were talking about that to the time now to the time at fiscal year end in June 30. That's my point, is that that's going to fall close to 200 million or less by that time.
I'll confirm that for you.
Thank you.
The last thing related to this, Mayor, excuse me.
Go ahead.
We will have a budget amendment that we will bring to you next month. If you'll recall, when I presented this to you in September, I told you that to honor the request of not increasing our debt as a result of this refinancing, we would pay all costs out of fund balance in the debt service fund. So I will bring that. We've already paid all these costs. We are continuing to receive some money back from Regions Bank as a result of all the offsets on interest earned. We just got one Friday, for example. So we'll be bringing that to you next month. We should have all that stuff flushed through the system and ready for your approval and consideration next month.
And Item H is your finance report. It's information only. I'll ask now if there's any input on items not on the agenda. Okay, Linda?
Thank you. I'm Linda King. I have a question that requires a response to clarify information in a public notice in the Daily Times. A request for proposal number 2013-2256 states that Blount County is accepting sealed proposals for HR and payroll services. Does this mean that we are planning to contract out work that is now being done in-house? And if so, will we see employees reduced, or are we just adding an additional expense?
Yeah, that's.
You are correct. We are seeking proposals. I can't give you a definitive answer as to whether we would be replacing anybody or not, because it's a fairly open-ended RFP. We're trying to find what are the best services and what is the nature of what's offered in the marketplace.
Is it something we now do in-house?
Yes.
So we may be spending the money and...
For your and everybody's information, I have 2 retirements that I'm facing, and we have a system that's probably approaching 30 years old, and I don't think I'm interested in trying to train somebody on a 30-year-old system if there's a better alternative out there in the marketplace.
So instead of replacing those people, that payroll money would go toward this contract, in other words?
Or we don't replace one for one. I don't know yet, but
Okay.
I'm looking at all options is the way to...
And I have one other, and it's a personal comment I would like to make. All public buildings are supposed to do what they can to help people with disabilities. I can name at least 10 people who come to meetings, whether this meeting or commission meetings, that have trouble hearing. The taxpayers have paid for all of these microphones. And thank you, Mayor, you always speak into your microphone, and so do you, Randy, and so does Commissioner Foltz. But too many people sit back in their chair and think that microphone is going to pick up the voice. And I think if the citizens take the time to come and sit here and want to hear your information, I think the courtesy should be given to them to speak into those microphones that we paid for. And not only that, I think it should be covered under the Disability Act. It should be done. And I hope that you will pass that information on to the other commissioners, because I'd like to see that change. Many times I've stood up here and said, microphone, and I don't think I should have to do that from the audience. So I do hope people will start using the microphones we've provided. Thank you.
Anyone else? Items not on the agenda? Okay.
I agree. That's why I'm sitting up here on the front row, because I have bad hearing and you all mumble a lot. Debt. How much are we in debt? Blount County in debt?
According to this report that I just discussed, it's $297,525,630, including $89.125 million in hospital debt. So the county's net debt's about $208 million.
And we're wanting to give $500,000 away to employees to just say thank you very much. That's my money. I paid $1,800 last year for property taxes. I think that's pretty high. I'd like it to be $800, to tell you the truth. But, you know, y'all just seem to spend our money like it's water. I think we were giving them a gift, $25 health insurance every month. How much does the health insurance cost a regular employee to the taxpayers?
This year, it's starting last month, $25 per month.
How much does it cost the taxpayer to pay for that?
Let me finish.
Please do.
That is on the individual side, and it carries over to the family side as well, those with dependent coverage. And then prior to that, you're paying was $100 a month, I think, on family coverage. Is that correct, Don? So it's now $125. Everything that an employee was paying now is added an additional $25 to it.
How much does it cost the taxpayers for that individual? I heard it's around $800 an employee. So they're getting about an $800 health package for $25 a month. Costs about $800
No, it's
a
actually
month.
more than 800.
What?
It's more than 800.
So it costs about what number?
It's 900 and some odd dollars a month, I
So
think.
the taxpayers are paying 900 and something a month for each employee, and they're paying $25 a month.
Yes.
That's a gift.
Anyone else?
I'd like health insurance in Blount County. Extra $500,000, that's ridiculous. Thank you.
At this time, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.